Yo, go hard. You want to come hang with us tonight?
I would be down, but I have a calculus final tomorrow.
Okay, what about when you're done?
Got a STEM club meeting right after.
Were you wearing that before? What about after?
Straight to basketball after.
How are you? Okay, what about after that?
Gotta call the fam. I'm sorry, man. I'll catch you later.
All right, whatever, man.
I swear I feel like the work never ends. And I also gotta figure out how to make some money, but I don't have time for a job. Do I start a side hustle?
Yes, that's a great idea. But if you're a busy student, you need to start the right kinds of side hustles. In this video, I'm going to cover 5 different options, many of which that I did myself as a student. The first side hustle is maintaining websites. And notice how I said maintaining websites and not developing websites, because that's way more time consuming. If you're trying to develop a website, you of course need to know a little bit of coding, then you need to think of a website idea, and then you need to know how to monetize that idea. But maintaining websites is different. The idea here is that you're going to spend a few hours a week or even just a few hours a month helping local businesses and organizations keep their sites up to date. In fact, this is exactly what I did back in 10th grade. So in my hometown, there's a nonprofit organization that puts on an annual charity event. And when I was in 10th grade, they announced that their previous website manager was leaving. So of course they put out an announcement and they were searching for someone else to step in and come help. I was like, I know how to code websites. I have been doing this for years. I am more than happy to help out. Turns out they did not need someone with extensive coding knowledge. They just needed someone to log onto the website platform and update some of the links, some of the images, some of the buttons, just here and there. And so I was a bit confused. I was like, y'all need someone to help with this? But then it all clicked. The organization was run by many older, less tech-savvy people. And I don't mean this in a condescending way. The people who ran this organization were some of the sweetest people I had ever met. They had a bunch of life wisdom, but computers weren't their thing. So over the course of several months, I spent maybe a total of 10 hours updating links and text on their website. And this was super easy to balance with school and my extracurriculars and my AP classes. On any given day, I spent maybe 20 to 30 minutes max working on the website. And do you want to know how much they paid me for my work? $500. That comes out to roughly $50 an hour, which is crazy as a student. Now, of course, I'm not saying you're going to find opportunities that pay this much or require this little technical work, but who knows? In your local community, there are probably tons of small businesses and organizations that need help maintaining their websites. You would be surprised by how many small businesses don't update their websites ever. Like, ever. Reach out and offer to help out. Tell them that you'll help them maintain their websites or maybe even give them some upgrades. If you have a bit of coding or design experience and have some extra free time, you can make some extra money by offering to upgrade and revamp their web pages for them. And of course, don't ask for money in the initial email. Just do a vibe check and see if there are organizations that are willing to take on some help. And so that leads me to side hustle number 2, graphic design. And now graphic design is something that I have personal experience with both as a buyer and as a seller. So back in high school, I designed posters for a small grocery store in my community. I ended up taking my posters and hung them up all across the inside and the outside of the store. And these posters weren't anything too fancy. They were just advertising different discounts and deals the store was having. Now, how much did they pay me? $20 per poster. I ended up making 10 posters total, so I made like $200 over the course of a couple weeks. Now, the reason I loved this side hustle in particular is because once I designed that initial poster, which granted took like 2 or 3 hours to make, I now had a template. So every single poster that I subsequently designed only took 20 to 30 minutes of work. So after crunching the numbers, it turns out that I made anywhere between $30 to $40 an hour, which again is absolutely nuts as a student. So if you want to do this side hustle, you have to complete 2 steps. First, you need to acquire some basic graphic design skills. So back in my day, wow, I just made myself sound very old, I only used Photoshop. But today you have Canva, Adobe Express, and a bunch of other AI design tools, which make the process a lot easier. And don't worry, this isn't a segue into a promo. All you really have to learn today is just the basics of these programs, and that'll give you enough skills to help most small businesses around you. But that leads me to my second step. Yes, the first step is acquiring the skills, but the second and even harder step is acquiring the customers. So a great place to start, as I've said like 100 times already, is local businesses and organizations. But in today's world, as more and more people are becoming content creators and starting online businesses, you can also find opportunities for remote graphic design work. For example, as a creator, I am constantly looking for extra help with designing thumbnails and newsletter graphics and website designs and so on. So if you want to do this, I recommend you reach out to some creators, but don't reach out to huge creators like Mr. Beast. He already probably has hundreds of people helping him with the stuff. Reach out to smaller creators that you like that might not have the team behind them helping them with this sort of stuff. Now, regardless of the kind of side hustle you want to start, you'll eventually want to create a website to showcase your work. Whether it's a gallery to showcase your design skills, a place to sell your services, or a blog to highlight your knowledge. And an important part of your website is your domain name, which is where the sponsor of this video comes in, .online domains. .online is the world's second largest new domain name extension with over 3 million registrations. The extension is versatile, professional, and applies to almost any category, including education, apparel, creative, tech, or travel. Also, you're much more likely to find a .online domain for your business as opposed to a .com domain. And given that the word online is understood in over 24 languages and is searched over 130 million times a month, the extension has immense SEO value. So regardless of the kind of business that you want to start and where you want to start it from, a .online domain is a great fit. And best of all, the domain is available everywhere. If you're ready to kickstart your .online business journey, you're in luck. You can register your own .online domain for just 99 cents for the first year. Head to the link in my description and use code GOHAR to get your .online domain for just 99 cents. And now, back to the video. But your favorite creators probably need help with more than just graphic design, which is where the third side hustle comes in. Content repurposing. So creators today aren't just making long form videos. They're writing newsletters, writing tweets, creating short form content. So the idea behind content repurposing is taking one of these mediums and converting it into another. For example, you can take a long form video and convert it into a series of tweets or a newsletter, or you can even convert it into a series of clips. Now, this is a newer side hustle that I've heard of some people doing. Personally, I did not do this, but as a content creator, I can confidently tell you that there are plenty of creators who would be willing to pay for such a service. And the reason I include this as a side hustle for busy students is because you don't really have to make any of the core content itself. You just have to build the systems to convert one form of content into another, which again is becoming a lot easier with AI. However, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Getting your first client is going to be a challenge. Like, yes, you're going to have to do a bunch of cold outreach, but you're also going to have to prove yourself. Of course, it'll help if you have some sort of portfolio or track record to show the quality of your work. But again, my biggest tip here is to reach out to the smaller niche creators that you yourself love. Because these creators, once they know that you watch them, will be much more comfortable hiring you because you're familiar with their style of content. Also, now that I think about it, I feel like this would be a particularly useful service for streamers because, as many of you know, they really promote themselves by posting clips online. So if you can find some smaller to medium-sized streamers who haven't really popped off yet and help them create clips for TikTok and Reels and Shorts, I imagine that would be a somewhat lucrative opportunity. That's just what my gut says though. If you have luck trying out this side hustle, please do let me know. I'm very curious. So the fourth side hustle is virtual group tutoring. So many college students and even high school students make extra cash by tutoring for really hard exams, like the SAT, the ACT, AP, IB, and so on. So what most students do is they'll tutor one-on-one and also in person, which, don't get me wrong, is a great model, but it's a bit inefficient for busy students. If you have a very packed schedule, I first of all recommend that you try tutoring virtually, and I also recommend that you try tutoring in groups. Now, obviously, the idea here is that you would charge less per student if you're doing group tutoring, but because you're bringing in more volume total, you'll probably end up making more money. Now, I actually made some money doing tutoring my junior year of college. I made $21 an hour as a computer science tutor. Granted, I was doing tutoring one-on-one. Although I had multiple students, it would have been much more efficient if I simply hosted group sessions, especially because all of my students were on the same level. Now, another reason I think group tutoring is great for busy students is because you also get to review the content yourself. So I won't lie, as a computer science student, I had to revisit some very fundamental computer science concepts that I hadn't gone over in years. Of course, I knew what I was talking about and I was very comfortable with the material, but tutoring gave me a chance to solidify my own knowledge as well. It kind of comes back to the Feynman technique. By teaching others these very fundamental concepts, I myself enhance my own understanding. Also, by the way, being able to take a complex subject and distill it to someone and seeing that light bulb moment go off in their eyes is a very gratifying feeling. Now, the fifth side hustle is selling notes. Now, this one is especially useful for busy students because you don't have to do any extra work. Assuming you're taking an accelerated class in college, there are probably a ton of underclassmen that are willing to pay you for your notes so they have something extra to study with. Now, if you can't find anyone to sell your notes to, you can also sell them online. There are a bunch of different platforms that will buy your notes from you. But please do your research before using any one of them. Don't just sell your notes to some random website. Now, if you'd rather keep your notes for yourself, and look, I don't judge, you can sell other things. For example, you can sell used textbooks, school supplies, or even old clothing. So back when I was in college, I had some friends who were selling old clothing on Depop. But I also heard of plenty of students who were using Depop to set up full-on reselling businesses. They would go to thrift shops and buy clothes with the sole purpose of then reselling it on an app like Depop, which is kind of nuts. And by the way, they didn't sponsor this video. Again, what I love about all these methods, except for that Depop reselling thing, is that they're pretty low lift. You are simply reselling items that you already own. So the only work is really in making that transaction. And by the way, if you ever meet up with someone to sell something, please do so in daylight and in public. And of course, if there ever comes a time during the semester when you have some free time and you're passionate about this reselling stuff, you can also turn it into a full-on business. And with that, we have wrapped up the 5 side hustles. I wish you the absolute best in securing the bag this school year. And please do remember that although some of these side hustles are low lift, they still take time to set up and get rolling. So be patient. Also, if you have any other side hustle ideas, please be sure to leave them in the comments. I would be very interested in hearing your personal stories, and I assume that's also the case with a bunch of other students. And as always, join my Discord and newsletter for more study tips, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you again next week.